Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Exa and I'm a year 2 podiatry student and I study at the University of Northampton. I interview podiatrists for your entertainment and knowledge. Every week we find a podiatrist who helps students such as myself gain some insight into the podiatry world. So if you're considering podiatry as a career choice, I think you'll really enjoy watching my videos and I think you will learn a lot. Today, I interviewed Nick Knight, who also attended the University of Northampton. He now runs his own private practice called NK Active and has clinics in Southampton and Basingstoke. Along with his clinics, he runs his own podcast, and that is primarily to help the public gain some insight into podiatry and to educate the public on what podiatry actually is and what we can do for you. Please continue watching, and if you like my videos, subscribe, hit that like, and click the notification bell to get updates every Friday when we release new videos. Take care. Bye. Hi, Nick. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you.
Awesome. So if for anybody that doesn't know who you are and where you studied podiatry, do you want to introduce yourself just a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm Nick Knight. I am a podiatrist. I studied at what I believe to be the best uni, which is Northampton.
Yeah, that's right.
But I may be a little biased.
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
Because I know you're studying at Northampton as well. So
yeah.
And then done my master's in Brighton, and now I am in full-time private practice with my own clinic down towards Southampton way.
Okay, so did you study and do your master's at the, did you do your master's and work at the same time? Were you doing private practice?
So I started my master's when I was in the NHS.
Okay.
By the time I finished my master's, I'd left the NHS, started working for myself and had 2 children.
Wow. So that must have been incredibly hectic. How did you balance everything?
Honestly, I don't know. There were times through my master's where I'm like, I just nearly gave up through it. It's just the point where it was like, especially the dissertation stage of the master's, like, wow, this is a lot. And then I've got a new business. I've got 2 young kids, and I'm like, but you just got to battle through those things because you'd have a much bigger regret not finishing it than you would be if I say.
Yeah, 100%. The fear of missing out for sure. I'm in year 2 now, so we're kind of like juggling with the idea of doing our protocol. So we're doing like prep work for our dissertation, and all of us, these are some of the questions that I kind of want to ask you in a little bit, but doing just a dissertation on a bachelor level, like I can't imagine what it would be like on a master's level. I feel like I'd be pulling out my hair.
Yeah, it is a little different. So for my bachelor's, I'd done my own little study as well. Okay. So I decided I didn't do a literature review at bachelor's, and I didn't do a literature review at master's either. So I've only ever done my own research at both. I think you learn a lot doing that. I feel for me, was it harder? I don't know, because I didn't do a literature review at bachelor's. I've written systematic reviews since. Mm-hmm. And I think doing the research methods way, doing the designing your own study and your own chart and doing it, I would say definitely took more time and effort, but I think it's more rewarding because you get to see and learn about the whole process. So when you're critiquing a paper and you're reading a paper, you then have understanding what the authors went through to get that paper published, because it's not an easy task.
No, absolutely not. So diving into our first question, what made you choose podiatry and what do you enjoy the most about it?
So podiatry, I sort of fell into by mistake. No one in my family is done and was medically related job-wise or anything. I remember that my A-levels didn't go. Actually, before that happened, I wanted to go in the military.
Okay. I think there is a podiatrist that did military first and then podiatry later. I don't know. I think he's quite well known, but the name is just completely baffled. Sorry, continue.
Ian over in, well, I think he's over Ipswich way.
Yeah.
So I originally wanted to do that, and then when I was at school, I got the chance to go spend the week with the Royal Engineers because I like my maths, science and sport. Absolutely loved it. I'm super competitive. So when we had the assault course bit, I told someone on my team who wasn't as athletic as I was just to step aside and I'll do their lap for them to make sure that we won.
Oh my God.
And then we even...
It's a little bit crazy, I'm going to admit. That's a little bit...
And then we were then like given some WOD to C4 and sort of said, here we go blow up a car and then go build your own bridge. And I just, in my element.
Oh, wow. That sounds so cool.
And then they sort of said to me, oh, have you thought about a career in the military? And I sort of said, at what point do I tell you I've got exercise-induced asthma? And then that was it. That was military career over. So then I wanted to be a physiotherapist. I got my provisional place at Brighton. But then through some matters out of my sort of control as well, A-levels didn't go how they... Well, I ended up... I was in hospital for a few days prior to my... A-level, and I didn't get the grades that I needed to.
Didn't they allow you... did they not give you an option to resit at that time? Or...
Yeah, I had the option to resit. I think it was 6 months later. All my friends were off to uni. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she'd gone to med school the year before. And I was like, okay, I just want to go to uni. Otherwise, I was thinking, okay, if I don't go, am I going to just not end up doing anything? And just... So, and someone sort of said to me, it was someone at Huddersfield sort of said, what about podiatry? And I thought, what the heck is podiatry? I had no idea. 17 at the time, and I was like, I had no idea. I'd seen physios in the past with sporting injuries, but never podiatrists.
Yeah.
So I got that thing out called the Yellow Pages, which...
What is that?
This is before social media. And believe it or not, in the olden days, if you wanted to find a specific telephone number, you had to open this book up and search and look, and then dial the number in. You couldn't just go on Google. So I wrote to a load of podiatrists. One got back to me, Paul Harradine. I went and spent a couple of weeks on my summer holiday just sitting in. I thought, yeah, I like what you do. I asked him, where did he go? He said Northampton. I phoned Northampton, spoke to Paul Fletcher, and there were places in Clearing. Went up from interview. They offered me a place through Clearing, and I thought, right, and the rest is history. And that's how I ended up going back to podiatry. So it's sort of
awesome. And the second part of that question, like, what is the thing that you enjoyed the most about podiatry? Because I know you've got a podcast as well that you've started as. So does that kind of tie in together? Like, did you initially intend?
No, I never initially intended to do podcasts because, again, they just weren't around when I left university. What I love about podiatry most is the freedom and the opportunities that it can give you. There's so much. Okay, my special interest is the sporting and musculoskeletal world, but there are so many other things that we can do. So I was doing nail surgery this morning as well, because I still like maintaining doing that because I enjoy it. But there's your diabetes, your rheumatology, your wounds, your pediatrics. You can go off and be a surgeon. There's so much scope of practice that I think podiatry offers you. You can almost do anything that you want with it, and I just love that we got this profession that we can do that in.
Yeah, it does open a lot of doors. Like, I know there's a lot of and I never had considered it before, and I still don't know if I consider it now, but forensic podiatry, like when I found out that I could do that, I was like, wow, this is so cool. I would never in a million years would have thought to make that connection. But yeah, you're right, it does open a lot of doors. So what made you start doing podcasts, and where do you plan to take it? What do you plan to do with it?
There's lots of podcasts at the moment, and there is lots of podcasts aimed at clinicians. And we both know, I think, podiatry needs a culture and an image change from a public perspective. A lot of the public don't understand what a podiatrist is. A lot of the healthcare professionals don't understand. So I wanted to do a podcast for my patients. So it's purely there just to help. This is what we do. These are the conditions we treat. This is what it's like coming to see us at MK Active. And yes, we're a mix of podiatrists and rehab sports therapists. So that's the reason for it, was just help to I thought, is this a different way of getting a message out of saying, this is what we do? So on the podcast, we've had previous patients. We're about to film one where we've got some people who own local shoe shops and running shops. We've had local people that we work with, so gym owners, trainers, running coaches. We then speak about different conditions that we treat in clinic, and the aim is to just to make it try and sound non-medical in words that patients understand, so they can understand what it is like and what to expect when they come to see us.
That's actually really, really cool. And where do you plan to take the podcast? Do you see like a little bit of a future with it? Do you see it expanding into something bigger than a podcast?
Yeah, I hope so. My aim with it, because I don't know where it's going to go or what it's going to do, but my aim is to get to a point where it starts growing and growing, and we get to the point where we can then start using it as an educational resource for patients. We then start using that to then help build a referral network as well. And then maybe even get to the point where we're then getting different colleagues from different parts of the country on the podcast to then all speak about how, as a collective, we can help other people. And then it's then also then getting other professionals on there who treat lower limb conditions. So maybe getting some physios, getting some osteopaths or doctors, and then sort of speaking about that it's not just podiatrists that can help with foot problems, and it's getting how other people would manage it. So it's acting as a big educational tool for the general public, because there's this massive disconnect between the medical world and the public, and I want to try and use the podcast to bridge that gap. That's the aim. We should see what happens.
I think you're going to go very, very far with your podcast. I have really high hopes. So I think you're doing a really good job. Then. No pressure. Just saying you better deliver. So for students going into their second year of podiatry, or even their third year, and we're looking at dissertations, what kind of advice do you have for dissertation topics? Like, what did you do for your dissertation topic?
So at undergrad, I looked at the effects of different types of trainers on foot function. So ASICS kindly provided some trainers, and we used the S-scan just to look at plantar pressure and how different shoes reacted with different people. My advice is pick a subject that you're interested in, because even though it's a dissertation at undergrad level, it's still a big piece of work. It's still most probably, unless you've done a degree before, is going to be the biggest bit of work you've done to date. So pick a topic area that you're interested in, pick a topic area you think you can see yourself working in, that you're going to enjoy. Otherwise, I think that process is going to be a lot harder for you to go through.
For sure, I mean, it's quite stressful as it is. Like, if we pick a dissertation topic that we just kind of like, are like, oh, I guess I have to do this now. I think it'll make the stress levels even higher. So that's actually really good advice. So this is the next part of our interview, is a ridiculous questions, and we kind of like get to unravel a bit of their personality behind what it is actually behind the podiatrist, and it's a lot of fun. So are you ready to play these games?
Yep.
Okay, first question. What old person thing do you do?
Oh,
because you're still quite young.
Yeah, I'm young, but I'm the oldest clinician in my team. So we've got myself and another podiatrist and a rehab instructor, and they're both younger than me, but I'm only 32.
Yeah. That's very young.
So what old person thing do I do? It's I like coming home from work, and you just read I love a dressing gown. I don't know whether that's an old person thing, but walking around in a dressing gown and a pair of socks.
Oh my God. So does it have is it velvet? I'm just picturing like this obnoxious velvet red.
No, it's not red. It's blue. The wife's dressing gown is red, but mine's blue. So it's okay. I would say that's most probably the sort of, I don't know if I've going to upset a load of old people now, but there you go.
I love it. That's like very posh English thing. That's such a typical English thing.
Bit of a cup of tea in my hand, just to really take that stereotype.
Some tea and crumpets, dear. That's a bad accent. Okay, I'm laying off accents. How long do you think you would last in a zombie apocalypse?
I think I'll be all right.
You said you're very competitive.
I am. Because I'm really competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds really bad. But if a zombie's chasing you, you haven't got to be the fastest person. You've got not to be the slowest. And it's...
That's terrible.
And naturally, I'm quite quick. So my 100-meter record I set at school when I was like 14 still stands today. In the hockey, like no one can outpace me up and down the pitch. So I'm naturally got that speed built in to me, and because I've got no issue sleeping outside, sleeping under tents or whatever. That doesn't say. And I'll eat anything and absolutely everything. So it's sort of...
You're set. You're golden. You're ready for this apocalypse.
Yes, I think I'm going to be okay.
Okay. What's your guilty pleasure besides the gown? That's hilarious.
My guilty pleasure is most probably Jammie Dodges.
Oh my God, yes, they're so good. We don't have those in Canada, or maybe they, I don't think we do have them in Canada. Like that's a British treat. But when I got here and I had them, like, oh my God, this is just like, I've been missing out my whole life. They're so good.
And I got into work this morning and the practice manager brought in a double packet of Jammie Dodges, and it's taken so much restraint for me to sort of sit there and just demolish. I think it's like 12 or 16. I could happily sit there and just demolish all those in one go.
They go down so easy though. Like, I don't blame you. There was a whole plate full here a second ago, and now there's not.
Especially if you dunk them in a cup of tea.
Oh, yes. Sort of like... 100%. That is delicious. If your life were a movie, what would it be called?
The life would be a movie. It would most probably be sort of what's a snappy title? I reckon it would most probably just be Work Harder, Harder and Harder. I know this whole sort of work smarter, not harder stuff out there, but I'm like, no, I just found myself, it's just constantly just work, and just push myself. So that is most probably quite a boring movie. I can't think of anything sort of snappier. It's sort of like...
Let's hope nobody makes a movie on your life now.
Maybe sort of living life in the fast lane. There we go. That sounds snappier, because I'm always on the go. I'm always thinking of new projects, and my staff will tell you that I'll come up with an idea and I say, well, this is what we're going to do. You do that. And then before they know, I've moved on to the next thing. And I'm like, right, let's go. I'm quite impatient when it comes to stuff like that. So there you go. Life in the fast lane. That sounds much better, doesn't it?
Yeah. I love it. So what's your proudest accomplishment?
From a professional viewpoint, my proudest accomplishment was being asked to work at the London 2012 Paralympic Games.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That was like, that was amazing.
That is really cool. Like, if that happened to me, I would never stop talking about it. Like, I would randomly slip it into conversation like, hey, by the way.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, it's a lifetime experience. I don't think I'm ever going to get a chance to do anything else like it again in my lifetime.
I think you will. I mean, like, it's already happened once. It could happen again.
Well, it could do. Yeah. We shall see. The Olympics certainly haven't happened this year, so it's sort of... No. We won't go down that road.
No, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I think professionally that would be my proudest achievement. Okay.
That's all the questions I have for you today. Do you have any questions for me?
No, nothing.
No.
How are you finding university?
It's really good. It's actually really, really good. I find that if I didn't have any kind of like creative outlet, like with my YouTube channel or even with like Instagram or anything, I kind of feel more stressed. So if there's any student watching this, which I hope they do, because this is essentially for them, I would advise any student to pick a creative outlet, because I feel like that will really help the juices flowing.
Yeah.
So I feel like, if I didn't have a creative outlet, university life would be really hard, especially now with the lockdown.
Yes.
It would be incredibly tough, but I seem to be doing okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Have you got a sort of area of podiatry you're starting to develop more of an interest in than any others?
I really was interested in sports, so the sports aspect of it. I find that incredibly interesting. But now that I know that there's so many things you can do, and my placement is a wound clinic, and I didn't think I would like that as much as I actually do, because the like ulcers themselves, like they're quite, you need like a hard stomach for that. They're really hard to look at, and even like if you're a very emotional person, which I am, like I feel really sad very quickly. So, but to be fair, like I'm really enjoying wound clinic. So I think I'm kind of split between either going like diabetic ulcers route and specializing in that, or doing something sports related, like going into like pediatric surgery. So I'm a little bit torn. We'll see what happens. I'm not really in a rush to kind of name any specializations right now, but do you recommend anything?
Yeah, the biggest thing I recommend is know your anatomy. No matter what you want to do.
Yeah.
Know your anatomy, and more anatomy.
Yeah.
And then the other big skill is just really honing on your history taking skills. Especially in the musculoskeletal world.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer you can diagnose 90% of what's going on while actually seeing the patient at all, just by taking a history.
Okay.
And that is so important.
Yeah.
Especially if you ever get the chance to, in placements, go and sit with Ian Riley, one of the podiatric surgeons. Make sure you are definitely clued up on your anatomy if you go see him.
Yeah. Okay. I will take that advice.
Definitely. Your placement will be much more enjoyable if you know your anatomy, put it that way.
Okay, fair enough. Does he like rinse you if you don't know your anatomy that well?
He's not too bad. He just expects
a certain level.
Yeah.
I would expect it to be fair.
Yeah. And when I have students in, that's the one thing I expect is
anatomy,
because it is sort of taught from year one at university. Well, it was when I was there, and I think it still is now.
Yeah.
And it's something that you're constantly still learning it. I'm constantly still refreshing my anatomy. Before lockdown, I was going spending time in a dissection lab at Southampton Hospital.
Yeah.
There are so many apps you can use now just to keep that anatomy knowledge fresh and up to date. Yeah.
That's really good advice. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today and give advice to any students watching.
No worries, anytime.
Good luck with your podcast. I hope you do really, really well with that. I'm really looking forward to seeing the next episode, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Andrew, take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.